60 Minutes with Angela starts right now.
Right now, I think Nigeria is not very lovable and we are not loving her. If our leaders begin to do things a bit differently and they're able to lead us on the right path consistently, 12 years, 16 years, then it won't be so difficult to love Nigeria, hold our flag, do what is right, and then we'll begin to fall in love again with Nigeria. Right now, unless those who are mouthing it, there are very few Nigerians in love with Nigeria. A woman doesn't love a man who beats her.
Well, hello and welcome. This is 60 Minutes with me, Angela Ajitumobi. Thank you for joining me on the program today. My host today is the new Managing Director of Nigeria's New Telegraph newspaper, a former editor of the Sunday Sun here in Nigeria, and also the former general editor of the Sun newspapers, and with a past in our political history as a special advisor to a former Speaker of our House of Representatives, Patricia Ete. I'm delighted to have her on the program to give her 2 cents on what is going on in our political space. So, join me after the break as I count down 60 minutes with FUNKE Egbemode, Managing Director and Editor-in-Chief of Nigeria's New Telegraph newspaper. Welcome back. Welcome, Mrs. Egbemode. I'm delighted to have you back on the program.
Thank you, Angela. It's nice to be here again.
Well, congratulations are in order, Editor-in-Chief, Managing Director of the New Telegraph. I mean, you've been at the job for over 6 months now, so nothing new to you. You've been editor in different publications for so many years.
This is new. This is the first time I'm Editor-in-Chief. This is the first time I'm Managing Director. It's a different job, actually. Now, I'm not just about the headlines. I'm also now about tax. This is not about pension.
Yes.
This is about worrying as early as the 15th or 20th about, oh, are the books balanced? Am I going to be able to pay salaries?
A lot of administrative work
A
now.
lot. All the things I never used to hear, I never used to know what's going on in the background.
Yes.
Now I'm involved in everything. Somebody has had an accident, somebody's wife is in labor.
Yes.
I get to be involved in everything. It's fun.
Yes.
It's a new horizon. It's like being in business management school all over,
Yes.
and then learning how to manage more people, because now it's not just about your title, just one newspaper. It's about all the titles. It's about all the offices around the country. You worry about circulation vans and everything.
Do you still have time to write?
It's difficult now. Writing, it's a lot more difficult for me now, because by the time I realize it's time to write my column, because I still keep my column in the Sunday Sun.
Yes.
By the time I realize it's time to send the column to production, I'm like, where did the week go? Because I'm still having to deal with my issues in New Telegraph.
Yes.
There's not enough time.
Not enough hours in the day.
Yeah, not enough time to put my thoughts together, to even get involved in as much reading and as much preparation towards writing a column. But somehow, I'm getting by.
You know, I've been following, and I'm sure you have too, you know, I've been reading your headlines now. And New Telegraph is my #1 paper
Thank
to go
you.
to this.
Good
so,
to know.
you know, I've been following the revelations coming out from President Buhari's war on corruption. Do you think that Nigerians are really ready for the type of revelations that we are getting from the investigations going on, the arrests that have been made, and the prosecutions that have started?
There would never and there could never have been any appropriate time to get to this point where we are. It was just something something waiting to happen, and it's finally here. I don't even think any country ever be able to say, oh, we were prepared for this kind of worms, this kind of drama, this kind of revelation that we suddenly have to, face up to. It had to happen. It is happening. We have to live with it. We have to get past it and try to be a better country after this, so we don't have a repeat of this season. It's really a tough season for Nigeria, whether you're living here or living abroad. All anybody seems to know about Nigeria right now, it's about Hamsgate, it's about who took what amount of money, it's about why did we not fight insurgency and all of that. We all look like a bunch of very corrupt people right now, so we just have to find a way to manage this season, get through it, and then be a better nation.
A lot of the editors I've spoken with all tell me the same thing. They say, even though there was a little knowledge about corrupt practices going on, but no one knew the extent. Were you surprised? Have you been surprised by any of the revelations and the amounts that we are listening to?
Everybody is surprised. I am beyond surprised. I'm shocked. I'm wondering, do we actually have the capacity to do this much damage to ourselves? Like we are on a self-destruct mission. The figures are mind-blowing. The impunity that seemed to have happened in our recent past it seemed to be beyond imagination. But then you also wonder if we're exaggerating, if the figures are not exactly what they are made to look or sound like. But we can't sit here, we can't sit in the confines of our homes and just accept everything being thrown at us and into the open now. I think maybe because I'm a journalist, we tend to have this mind that there must be something beyond what we are being told, something more, something we need to look at. And I really think that whether you are in opposition, whether you are in the ruling party, we need to find a moderation space for all that is going on, so we don't begin to move into a season of rage after this season of revelation, because the tendency is to get angry. I didn't know what to feel when I saw the figures that some companies, some hospitals took for prayers.
Marabouts.
I didn't know what to feel. It
400 million.
Yeah, I was really shocked that what were they praying about? Who was the money for? Some spirits? Or was that money for God? And then what the prayers answered? We have to manage it in some way so we don't get into a rage.
You raised an important point now about, are we being fed these figures, for whatever reason? Should we just accept hook, line, and sinker the information that we're being given? And on the other hand, you talk about the impunity. And so, could these things have been happening with such impunity, and that we have no system, no institution that could have caught it while it was happening? Are we saying that if President Buhari never initiated this war, we would never know about these monies?
If these things don't come out now, they would eventually have come out at some point. But those figures are really huge. Things were going on that shouldn't have gone on. But here we are, we're faced with them. I still think that you will not be accused consistently of stealing, of molesting children, if you have not been found around those kind of scenes. So if you have been found to have molested children at some point, for instance, or molested a child, there is a tendency for your neighbors to come out and say, you molested my son, you molested my daughter. That's because you've been caught in one iniquity. You are likely to be accused of all kinds of iniquities, or all kinds of iniquities in that area of life. So I think if somebody has been accused of stealing 2 billion naira or $2 billion, the person has stolen. It may not be that much. It may not be the only person responsible for that evil,
Yes.
but he did something. So I think when we get to court, when we get to prosecution, and the lawyers all move in and they throw the law books around and what the constitution says about who should take what,
Yes.
and what should go where, we will most likely arrive at the real figures. But right now, Nigerians should keep an open mind and just know that we need to deal with this now.
You talked about a season of rage after the revelation, and I'm thinking and remembering the Minister for Information, Lai Mohammed, recently saying that instead of people to be enraged about these figures, they're hearing nonsensical information about how they are being witch hunted and the war is selective. Do you think this war is selective?
I've never believed in anti-corruption war being selective. When former President Obasanjo was fighting, they said it was selective, that he should afford everything and everybody. At the same time, he should have brought in everybody. You wake up in the morning and they were fighting outside your gate, and you get there and you find somebody had stolen a goat and people were ready to lynch. You ask him, you have done a very horrible thing. How could you have gone to steal a goat? And the guy tells you, yes, I stole a goat, but I'm not the only thief. The man down the street stole a goat last week. In fact, the woman right opposite this house just stole a goat last night. Yes. Does that make him less of a goat thief? He has stolen a goat. Something is missing. Okay, let's even assume and agree that it is selective. Let these people plead their case. Yes. And let us find out whether they are guilty or being harassed. I'm more about, let's be sure that we're fair. If we're fair, give them fair hearing, follow the rule of law, do what we need to do to get to the, let's not bring malice
into it.
And whatever we have against certain people, in maybe from our past or for something that they did in the recent past, let's just face the issues. I don't believe this war is selective. President Obasanjo once went after a certain group of people. President Buhari has gone after a certain group of people. Okay, selective here, half selective here, half selective here. Maybe we have a balance now. The thing is, let those who have been accused get fair hearing, and then we can move on from there.
One of the issues that this arms gate has revealed is that people are very worried now about, do you question the source of monies being paid to you for legitimate work done? I mean, I'm not talking about the marabouts now. There's some people who did, you know, quantifiable work. If you do media work for someone, it's quantifiable. Is it now left to you to ensure that the source of money from which you are being paid is legal?
I do not think it is my responsibility to do the job of the anti-graft agencies, to do the job of the police, to do the job of the Auditor General's office. If I bring a service to you, and you like the service, and I provide the service, I provide the money, I think I have not done anything bad. Because you're supposed to provide the service. Now, the government agencies responsible for the well-being of the economy need to wake up and do what they're supposed to do. Because we cannot, 2 years down the road, now go after the person who got paid for quantifiable job. We're not talking about stuff like prayers and marabouts. It is not the job of the person who got paid. I think from here on, considering what we have seen in the last 3-4 months in our politics, we should take away some lessons and learn that we all need to be more diligent, more careful. Even those who are getting paid, even though you can say it's not their responsibility, everybody needs to be more circumspect about who they deal with, what they're dealing with. If you have dealings with politicians, you are a little bit endangered. You need to also know what you're dealing with. I think there are lessons in it for all of us, the payee and the payer.
The payee and the payer. In our history, no sitting president has ever gone after a former president, apart from maybe Sani Abacha times, but I'm talking about civilian dispensation. Do you think that President Buhari will be the first civilian president to indict and prosecute a former president?
Sincerely, I think it's likely to happen. I don't put anything past this administration. This present administration under President Buhari seems to be ready to take on everybody and everything.
Yes.
That in itself is not a sin. It's not something bad.
You think so?
The part where it is bad is when we consider the security implications out there, outside the country. What are those things we are bringing out? Are we revealing too much? Once in a while I read the stories, what they said somebody did,
yes.
And especially when it comes to our security, when it comes to how the office of the National Security Advisor is run, how the offices of the service chiefs are run and what they do, are we telling the world too much?
Yes.
That is more my fear than who gets pulled into court, who gets invited by EFCC.
Yes.
Because somehow I think that a lot of the cases may not stand up in court. Because when they bring the details out and I have to defend myself about where I got money from and who and what it was paid for, some of the cases might just
might fall
out. Yeah.
When we come back from the break, I want to take you up on that. You saying that he just might go after President Jonathan. What will President Jonathan's people say? The Jaws are already alleging that they've been marginalized. Can you imagine if President Buhari indicts and prosecutes President Jonathan? But join us again after the break.
Nice question.
Angela, that's a great question.
It's a good question.
It is difficult to respond to that question.
That is a serious question. Angela, that is a very great question. Great question, Angela.
Angela, that's a very difficult question.
That's a great question, Angela.
Okay, that's a great question.
Angela, that's a tough one for me.
That's a good question. Good question.
I love to ask questions. I think it's what I do best. You see, I think that the fastest way to learn anything is to ask questions. The right questions, that is. Questions that help you get to the heart of the matter.
60 Minutes with Angela. Again, answers to every question you always wanted to ask.
So what is 60 Minutes with Angela all about? It's not an interview. I like to think it's a conversation between two people making the news, people who are in the news, and those who become the news. And the whole idea is to inform, to educate, or to clarify, as the case may be. It is an art getting people to answer the questions that everyone is thinking in their minds. And that's what we try to do on 60 Minutes with Angela. I ask all the questions that everyone's thinking about and no one wants to voice. All the questions you always wanted to ask, you get those answers on 60 Minutes with Angela. Every week on this station, 60 Minutes with Angela, getting answers to every question you always wanted to ask. Welcome back. If you've just joined us, it's 60 Minutes with me, Angela Ajitumobi. On my hot seat today, FUNKE EGBEMODE is the Managing Director and Editor-in-Chief of Nigeria's New Telegraph newspaper. Can you imagine what President Jonathan's people would say is indicted and prosecuted?
I really don't think that if we are a serious nation, we want to get to the bottom of our problems, we want to get past this bad patch of the road in where we are now.
Yes.
That it should be about what the Yoruba people think about what we're doing to Obasanjo, or what the Igbos think about what we're doing to Ekweme,
Yes.
or what the Jaws think about what we're doing to Jonathan. I sincerely do not think so.
Yeah.
Because we all have one and only one country where we can really be ourselves. No matter how successful you are in America or Canada or anywhere, you're really not yourself. You're not really who you can be at home. This is the only country we have. And whatever it takes for us to fix it, let's fix it. Now, if the Ijaws decide to take up arms because President Jonathan is invited to Abuja or to answer some questions, if they take up arms, it's like an admission of guilt. I think the Jonathan administration is not as bad as it's been painted to look.
Why do you say that? I mean, there are two sides to this. Some people say all this may have been going on and he didn't know. And the other side say there is no way, you know, except the former NSA was crazy to disburse all those sums to a steady stream of people. He must have been acting under instruction.
That's why I said that we must do whatever we need to do to get at the total truth, at the essence of this drama all going on. It will be really sad if you say, oh, we're inviting the former president to answer some questions. Yes. Because he's a former president, decorum should come into it. Yes. We should treat him with plenty of respect, not just because he's Goodluck Jonathan, but because he held an office in trust for all of us. It's about an institution. Yes. Whatever we need to ask him, we must ask with absolute decorum and respect for his person, for the office that he held, because what goes around comes around. Sure. Because it just, once we allow a precedence of harassing or seem to be harassing a former president, well, it just might become the norm. You know the way we are in this country. Once somebody has done something and gotten away with it, it becomes fashion, becomes the fad. I think we should not, however, turn it into, it is our son, he can't answer questions. Yes. Being called to answer a question is not an accusation that you stole money. But instead of dragging him to EFCC office, we can take his statement, we can ask him questions as the man in charge at that time. We should respect him, but we should not turn it into an ethnic thing.
And the former Minister of Finance, do you think it's time she's called in? You know, on paper, she has all the approvals necessary to justify any monies that were paid out. But people are saying she should have done more. If you paid out money for arms, did she have a responsibility to make sure that those arms were purchased?
It's a matter of what the law says, what are the rules guiding the office of the Minister of Finance. If she was supposed to have supervised beyond giving approvals and signing mandates for how monies were being disbursed, and she didn't do it, then she's culpable. If she did what she was supposed to do, you can't say that she should have done what the auditors should have done. You can't say that if she approves money to be spent on arms, she's supposed to approve money to be spent on arms. Is it also a responsibility to follow up on what kind of arms we're getting, where we're getting it from? But if it's her responsibility, she has a case to answer. She's going to have to come up with more comprehensive explanations about what happened then and how it happened and how it is not her fault. It is time she went beyond just saying Falana can't drag me into it. Nigerians can't drag me into this. It's totally her business. If a mother is responsible for the upbringing of her children and the children don't turn out well, she gets blamed. Right now, the blame is so close to Dr. Okunjewela's doorstep, and she can't stay indoors and speak through the keyhole. She needs to come out, she needs to explain, she needs to tell us and even educate us about what we don't know about the runnings of that office.
How the system works. Because it would seem that everyone seems to be focusing on Sambo Dasuki, but there is a larger picture there. The picture of impunity that you talk about, the fact that sums of monies can just be disbursed on a whim.
And then they disappear.
Yes.
I can't wait for Dasuki to get to court. I can't wait for the real trial.
Do you think Dasuki will get to court? You know, all these revelations, perhaps the real reason behind them is not to secure a conviction. Rather, the reason is first to give us these revelations and perhaps encourage these people to refund monies. Because if anything, the main purpose of this corruption war is to get our money back.
Which I support absolutely. I mean, if we throw 10 ministers in jail, we are going to have to give them uniform and feed them.
Yes.
For the number of times, that's throwing good money after bad.
Yes.
So if we want to get our monies back, fine, I'm all for it. But if you have accused somebody of something, the person has gone to court, we're already in a legal process, I think Dasuki should be allowed to get to court. Otherwise, what will be the essence of all that we're doing?
Yeah.
I mean, this drama has to get to the last stage.
Yes.
And we
want to hear from him.
Yes.
Directly.
I mean, everything we have had has been from one side. You have said the man took all this money. Dasuki Gate, arms deal. Let's even hear him. Let's hear from him. Let's hear from his lawyers. So we actually know who got what.
Yes.
Because there should be no half-truths. It is a bad season, but so that we don't move from this bad season into a season of rage, because the rage can be from any side.
Yes, and it can be directed to anyone.
Yes, we are just thinking now the rage will be coming from PDP against the APC. Let everything come into the open, since we have something in the open,
yes,
so that it's not just Nigerians getting angry that the APC has not done what it should do, or PDP has done so much evil and they deserve to be crucified. Yes. Let's not get into a season of rage against everybody about everything. Let us have everything getting to the court and getting resolved once and for all.
People are saying they're waiting for the worm into the NNPC.
That would be... And we have so many worms crawling all over the place. Adding the NNPC worms, it's just going to be very interesting. Like in the newsroom, this is a good season for the newspaper. Yes. The stories are easy now. You don't have to scratch your head because to look for a story. It's all out there. But we have to look beyond that, because while we are looking for this money, governance must not come to a standstill. We should also worry about just opening cans of worms and celebrating everything evil, and we open our eyes one day and it's time for the next election and we have done nothing but look for money that was missing. We need to keep our eyes on the ball, make sure it doesn't drop. We need to ensure that we have our eyes on the windscreen and not permanently on the rear view mirror. Otherwise we're going to crash into something.
Those who say that they will not refund any money, are they missing the point? If I've tracked the money to an illegal source, how does that legalize the value of what I have?
Someone told me that if you have been found to be in possession of money, illegal funds, it doesn't matter what you have spent it on, then you need to refund.
Yes.
Maybe that's what the law says. But if money is for food, and you paid me money to get food, and then I got food, and then people ate the food.
Yes.
Where am I supposed to get this money back? Because I've spent it. If you spent money on electioneering, and the person paying you said it's for campaign, it's for elections, and then elections have come and gone. What is the person supposed to do? But I guess it's a point of law. But we must also have a way of even putting a human face on this kind of worms as well.
Where do you stand on the debate on the handcuff matter? You know, handcuffing people who are charged with corruption matters to court.
I hope it is not Tafa Balogun thing, playing back again.
And what was that? What was the Tafa Balogun thing?
I mean, he was dragged on the ground, on the premises of the courts. I mean, just outside the courtroom. And it was the IG. It was demeaning. It was a very sad day, because I think that we have also, even if it's just in movies, watch the way other countries treat their public officers, even if they think they are guilty. But if you have not been sent to jail, then there are certain things that shouldn't happen to you. But be that as it may, I'm still trying to understand why Olisamitu was in handcuffs. Was it violent? Did he try to attack the warders? They said he tore his statement, he tried to eat his statement.
Yes.
Was that enough reason? He couldn't have even written the statement if he was in handcuffs. I think we should not take the drama too far and become characters in the story of the tortoise and his father-in-law. Yeah. Because those who are supporting the war may begin to, pull back and reassess it and think that, oh, maybe it's not really a war, maybe it's a witch hunt. The security agencies need to either tell us the full stories or be more careful.
You think everybody is immune from this war against corruption?
Nobody is immune. I'm not even sure you and I are immune. In case we have gone to visit Dasuki at one point or the other, nobody is immune, nobody is safe, nobody should feel that this can't get to him or her. Because I think that this administration is quite determined to do something that hasn't been done before. So this can go as far as the president wants it to go. Because I've seen a few things that didn't happen in the past happening now.
Yes.
Like they grant you bail, and then 5 minutes later you're back in the black area. You are rearrested. Even the president didn't mince words as to his stand on people getting bail and wanting to go abroad for medical checkup 2 days after, and then they disappear. He's quite focused on what he wants to do, but then how much of a respecter of the rule of law does that make him? Is this the way we should do it? I think there needs to be some kind of balance to all this. It's nice opening the can of worms. After some time, there won't be anybody anywhere to walk. And we always
worms will be all over
the place. We're all stepping on worms and getting irritated.
It's interesting you mentioned the point of rule of law, because the average man on the street, the plumber, the electrician, the vulcanizer, they don't support trying to adhere to rule of law. They see this getting bail and going abroad for medical treatment as a way out, So how do we balance those two opinions? Perhaps we can say the elite think it's an abuse of due process. If someone gets bail, he ought to get it. But the ordinary man on the street, they are hailing the move.
If you think that they are hailing the move, I will not disagree. Everybody loves a drama. But I can also tell you that the ordinary man on the street is also feeling the pinch of a bad economy. And I think that deworming is not a solution to hunger. You need to do what you need to do and make sure you do everything that you need to do. As much as possible, let's not just get carried away by the drama. Because I have this very strong feeling that if we don't handle this correctly, rightly, sanely, with our eyes open, it will come back to bite us. Because I think we are exposing what we could deal with behind closed doors, especially about our security situation, about the loopholes in our systems. We shouldn't tell everything in the open. Maybe that's why some people don't want Dasuki to get to court, but we need to find a middle road to keep this sane and make sure we get our money back. Those who need to get punished without Nigeria losing totally its integrity.
Well, Ankyo Briggs says that this war against corruption is being fought as if only members of the PDP are corrupt.
At some point, only those who are not in PDP were being fought. So now, if they go after those who are not in APC, well, I guess that's the way our own cookies crumble. It may not be right, but I don't see a man really going after his benefactor. I don't see a man really putting, a sane man setting his own house on fire just to try to kill a snake. So I agree with Ms. Briggs that we may be going after only those in PDP. We'll go after those in APC later.
Join us again after the break.
Nice question.
Angela, that's a great question.
It's a good question.
It is difficult to respond to that question.
That is a serious question.
Angela, that is a very great question.
Great question, Angela.
You know, Angela, that's a very difficult question.
That's a great question, Angela.
Okay, that's a great question.
Angela, that's a tough one for me.
That's a good question. Good question.
I love to ask questions. I think it's what I do best. You see, I think that the fastest way to learn anything is to ask questions. The right questions, that is. Questions that help you get to the heart of the matter.
60 Minutes with Angela. Again, answers to every question you always wanted to ask.
So what is 60 Minutes with Angela all about? It's not an interview. I like to think it's a conversation between two people, people making the news, people who are in the news, and those who become the news. And the whole idea is to inform, to educate, or to clarify, as the case may be. It is an art getting people to answer the questions that everyone is thinking in their minds. And that's what we try to do on 60 Minutes with Angela. I ask all the questions that everyone's thinking about and no one wants to voice. All the questions you always wanted to ask, you get those answers on 60 Minutes with Angela. Every week on this station, 60 Minutes with Angela, getting answers to every question you always wanted to ask. Welcome back. My concluding moments now with FUNKE EGBEMODE, Editor-in-Chief of Nigeria's New Telegraph newspaper. Well, the United States and United Kingdom have finally laid to rest any pretensions about the viability of a Biafran passport. The President was asking, what do the Igbo want? Who is marginalizing them? Where do you stand on this Biafra debate?
I think we're all better together than apart. We all need one another. And much as my heart goes out to my brothers and sisters from the Southeast, I think we have to do this with very clear eyes and clear minds. We have to look at the implications of any group wanting to opt out. Because
when you say implications, what kind of implications are you talking about?
There is no viable state in Nigeria. Not a single one state of the Federation that can survive without allocation from Abuja. I'm from Osun State. If Osun State decides to go, where is it going? How is it going to survive?
Yes.
Now, let's look at certain implications. If you use Glo or use any of the networks and you're a citizen of Oduduwa Republic,
yes,
assuming the Southwest people decide to go, once you cross a certain portion of the country, your phone is roamed. Once your children begin to go into, are found on the other side of another country.
Yes.
For instance, if you are from the Biafra Republic and your children are in Covenant University, they are in OAU, they are in Babcock, and there's a break.
Students.
They are foreign students. They won't pay the same fees as the fees of those in Nigeria.
Yes.
And you imagine the luxurious buses, the night buses, and all of them. Yeah. A trip from Enugu to Abuja becomes an international trip. And businesses by people who really employ plenty of Nigerians,
yes,
in Lagos, because they are now citizens of another country. They're like the Republic of Biafra. Those are international businesses, so they won't pay the kind of tax that I pay.
They're expatriates now.
They're expatriates, although there are advantages. That means that if I go to work in another country, I get paid in hard currency.
Yes.
But we need to look at the fact that it's beyond a movement, it's beyond protest. Once we let it happen, the reality will be staring us in the face. What happened to the oil under the soil in Anambra State, in Delta State, if they go? Will the refineries built with Nigerian money refine the oil there? Who exactly owns that oil? What will be the sources of income of foreign exchange for the new republic? What will happen to those who in Nigeria,
yes,
schooling, doing business? Will we take vehicles manufactured from the Biafra Republic or we'll tell them they need to go through process before we can buy their vehicles. And they have offices where we've been together for so long that this is a Catholic marriage. I don't think divorce will work.
Divorce is not an option.
It's not an option. I think we should all stay together. I think we should sit and discuss what the issues are and find an amicable settlement. Let there be no more bloodshed. There is always a corpse at the end of virtually every protest.
Yes.
And what does that even mean? That we want to stay apart? We are better together than apart.
And staying on that theme, which you espouse so patriotically, I just want to read to you something the president said. We must come to a point when we all collectively say enough. That is collective will, and that is what will bring us to a new state and a new status.
That should be like some kind of pledge that we read to ourselves every morning. We must say enough to a lot of things. Enough to thinking that your mother is different from my mother and therefore we cannot eat from the same plate. We must say enough to our wealth being in the hands of just a few people. We must say enough to looking back and wishing we were in the past. Because if we look back now, I mean, people of our generation even enjoyed some level of comfort in this country.
Yes.
I tell my children, I thought generating sets were for cold rooms and for parties holding far from their homes.
In a field.
In a field.
Yes.
But now, these children know the different names of generators and how they function. I mean, if you have not gone abroad now to school, something is wrong with you.
Yes.
But it is because something is wrong with Nigeria. It's not supposed to be the norm. We look back and see pipe-borne water, real water from the waterworks.
It's a drink.
Yeah, it's in our past. It's like every good thing is in our past. We must say enough to a situation where we found and we admit to ourselves that our past is better than our present. It shouldn't be like that. Otherwise, there will be no future at all. We need to say enough to so many things because we're in a bad place.
It seems that the Vice President, Professor Shibajo, was talking about removing this ethnicity and this need to identify ourselves by ethnic groups when we fill forms and so on. Where do you stand on that? Do you think if we continue to identify ourselves by traditional dress, are we not still promoting these divisive tendencies? We don't have a Nigerian national dress. We have national dress that belongs to different regions, different tribes. Is it time to do away with all that?
It is time to do away with whatever divides us. Anything at all. But we know that there are certain things we should not be doing. We all know those things. We should simply stop doing them. If we don't want forms that will ask you your ethnic group, then it's just a resolution of the National Assembly. It's just an amendment of a certain law, and it becomes an offense, punishable by law, to put those things on any form. And everybody will adhere. I mean, we all groaned, we all grumbled when it was time to do BVN. Oh, it's clumsy. Oh, it's... But we're doing it. We have done it. And there must be advantages to it. We should just look for the things that we used to do that we should stop doing and simply stop doing them. We need political will as followers. Our leaders need political will to tell us this is the right direction to go. But it's not about adire, it's not about ashoki. It's actually about the thoughts, our thought processes, our philosophies about life, and going abroad and loving the way things are done, and then coming back home and doing the exact opposite.
How do you think we can engender that patriotism? You know, when you go to the United States, you see their citizens put their flag out without prompting. It's not a law. You know, you see when they're singing the national anthem, the passion. Do you think loving my country should depend on the dividends I'm getting from her?
Of course. You don't just fall in love with a situation if it doesn't work for you. You don't sleep in a car that is not comfortable. You are uncomfortable inside a car that is uncomfortable. A country where you graduate and you know where you are headed is a country that you can count on its citizen holding its flag. A country where the roads actually look like roads. The people will be happy. Nobody had to tell us some of these things growing up.
Yes.
We simply wanted to be Nigerians. Otherwise, why would people go to school in Oxford and return to Nigeria? Because there was a country to return to.
Yes.
Now there is none. My father, as a school teacher, bought a brand new Vauxhall. And now a school teacher. And I'm wondering when a banker will buy a brand new car in Nigeria. It's difficult for somebody who needs to borrow around the year, do a cooperative loan before he can pay his rent, to actually love this country. That's why sometimes it's disheartening when you see doctors, you see bankers actually leaving their jobs and relocating to America, relocating to UK. To do what? Right now, I think Nigeria is not very lovable, and we are not loving her. If our leaders begin to do things a bit differently and they're able to lead us on the right path consistently, 12 years, 16 years, then it won't be so difficult to love Nigeria, hold our flag, do what is right. We need to be led, we'll need to follow properly, and then we'll begin to fall in love again with Nigeria. Right now, unless those who are mouthing it, there are very few Nigerians in love with Nigeria. A woman doesn't love a man who beats her.
You think this president is up to the task? Some people are saying, as far as the economy is concerned, it looks like we're drifting.
Actually, because of the number of years we had drifted, we had been adrift in the sea. It's not something that can be fixed. Nigeria can't be fixed in 8 years.
In 8 years?
No. I mean, we are talking about solid minerals. Has anything been done in the last 20 years to make sure that we begin to reap dividends of solid minerals? And we have 34.
Yes.
If we have 34 solid minerals and we don't even know where they have gone all these years, when are we going to start? We need to do something about the law. We need to do something about agri. Who owns land? Who gets to use it? Where do we take cassava? Where do we take snails? It's not about food sufficiency.
Yes.
If Nigeria is going to change, so much will need to change. Because if your children are abroad, you are not really worried about what's happening in Nigerian schools. I cite this example of the water corporation workers going on strike.
Yes.
Is anybody going to notice that water corporation people are on strike? That was when I was in primary school. That would be like hell about to come to town.
Yes.
If water corporation people go on strike today in Nigeria, it's not going to make front page in the newspapers. It's not going to be top story on any TV station. Yes. That's how bad things have gone. That's not what you can fix in 1 year. Not while they are trying to retrieve money from those who took money that didn't belong to them.
Yes.
We have a long way to go, and I think what we need is to consistently do what is right, stay the course. Maybe 10 years, maybe 20 years, we'll get to somewhere close to where we want to go. But now, where we have schools with 100 pupils in the class, you knew how many people were in your class. I know how many people were in my class.
Yes.
We went to schools to universities that had cafeteria, functional.
Yes.
We had schools that were so comfortable. Accommodation, even in our universities in the 80s, in the 70s, you didn't have 4 people in a room. You had rooms.
Yes.
All these things, all these things are now things that happen in other countries. We have a long way to go. Most of us were delivered in public hospitals. Now we have our babies not in private hospitals in Nigeria. We have moved from not delivering our babies in public hospitals, delivering them in private hospitals, to delivering them abroad. Everybody now, it's now the fad, your children must have another citizenship. Everybody gets pregnant and relocates abroad for 5 months so they can have their babies in America. now we have more Americans than Nigerian babies. It's sad. We need to do what is right for a long time before we can get to where we want to be.
Well, thank you very much, Mrs. Egbemode, for coming back on the program with me. It's an interesting conversation with you.
Thank you for having me.
And that's it for this week. I'm Angela Ajitumobi.